With that, it's time to begin the Reality Plus C Conclave with the first panel discussion of the day. On the topic, Delhi NCR Reality Poised for a remarkable year ender. Let me first invite the session moderator, Arvind, Senior Director, Valuation Services, Colliers, India. Arvind has a professional experience of over 15 years in the field of real estate valuation. He has a hands-on experience in valuations of all forms of real estate asset classes, including residential, commercial, retail, hospitality, industrial, institutional, warehousing, etc., primarily in the northern and western part of the country. Arvind also has experience of undertaking litigation support cases. Introducing our speakers in alphabetical order, I welcome Dr. Dharmesh, Shah, CEO, Hero Reality Private Limited. Dr. Shah is an achievement-driven, high-performance top management executive. He's a wizard in financial planning, having spent nearly a decade with the most reputed financial service brands of the country. He has an exceptionally well-organized track record that demonstrates self-motivation, creativity, and initiative to achieve all the goals that he and his team desire. Up next is Gaurav, Jain, CEO, India Projects, Infracorp. Mr. Jain has more than 30 years experience in real estate projects across all functions. For the last 10 years as business head, CEO responsible for P&L and guiding projects from their start to their very successful finishes. Previously, he has held key management positions at Bombay Realty, Jindal Realty, Imar, MGF, M3M, ITC, DLF, and JP Group. He's also a visiting faculty in SPA, New Delhi. Now next is Neeraj Bansal, co-head and COO India Global, KPMG in India. Mr. Bansal is a senior partner with more than 25 years of professional experience. He holds a strong relationship with member firms across Asian, HK, and Taiwan with a focus on growing inbound and outbound business operations, and has also played the role of a market maker through collaborations with Asian and HK members firms. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our session moderator and all our panelists for this discussion. Please. Oh, we can be louder, it's only the first one. I'm sorry, all your colleagues, well-wishers, mentors, friends. Thank you. Well, also because this is the first panel discussion of the day, and आप लोगों का other personality बहुत बढ़िया कि मैं बीच में आप लोगों को disturb करूं. Please be very, very careful of the time because we want to make sure कि हम आप सबसे कुछ ना कुछ सीखें. Of course, that you celebrate in the evening with all your hard work. Thank you. Please.
Okay. Yeah, hi. So, as in the governing address only, it was said that the Indian consumption market at present is something which is unprecedented, and post-COVID things have actually changed, and it can be seen across the segments. So earlier, if I can say, prior to COVID, when you used to do the valuations for any hotel industry or some hospitality sector and all, so we used to generally give a trend of this, what would be the peak time, the off season and all that. I think that currently all these lines have been blurred. So there is now no concept of the weekend, the weekdays, the off season, peak season. Anytime you go, you will find rush of tourists and all that, and almost all the even at the so-called off destinations and all, even there also you will find all those things. Whenever some new car, mobile, TV, whatsoever is being launched, these are being grabbed, like probably there is a home factor that probably tomorrow it will not be there also. And similar those things are also being observed in the real estate sector also. So especially since 2022, there has been a trend that now we, in terms of the pricing, in terms of the launch and all that, if you find at least the residential sector, you will find that probably we to an extent, we have beat the 2013-14 upsurge and the peak at that point of time that was there. So we have already crossed that, and now when it comes to Delhi NCR, I hardly will find anything being launched for less than 10,000 rupees per square feet type of bracket and all that. Even when I'm saying 10,000, it is relatively conservative stuff at all. And even in terms of the commercial and all the rentals to an extent are not picking, but at the same point of time, the leasing activity that has also, in fact, almost on the verge of clicking or smashing the pre-COVID levels and all that. So from that perspective, and when we are talking about a lot of things happening in the real estate and the demand and all, obviously the pricing and all these things are also happening to it in an unprecedented way. Similarly, the land prices also, and some of the land deals that has been done, and definitely I will ask question to sir regarding one of the deals that is very much in the news. So the first of the question, Pradeep, I will focus more on the residential, and apart from that, there are a few questions on the office space also in domain. Because when the reason is that typically vulnerability and all that, and the project cost and those things need to be taken care of. So my first, I just want to take from every one of you that in light of the current surge in housing prices, where and when it will stabilize.
Thank you, Arvind. First and foremost, thank you team Reality Plus for putting up such a great show. This is the million-dollar question. Everyone in industry is asking when these rates are going to get stabilized. In a lighter way, none of us wants the bull runs to stop. We all hope that it continues so that we can fund the events like this. So the bull run should continue, as all of us sitting out here wishes that. But on a serious note, when we were looking at the data, I was observing housing price index for last quarter, Q2 2023, and it shows some 7% increase in housing price across India. And that growth is over a Q1 of 2023, and even in fact from last Q2 of 2022, it showed the growth. So obviously, there is a price increase, and that's a sharp increase in a quarter prices which is showing. Does it because of a healthy movement? Is it because of the economic indicators? Does it overall factors bringing this demand and supply is boosting this price? If you ask all this, I think most of the answers are yes. There is a huge amount of social economic infrastructure happening, highest amount of FDI coming in. After G20, Indian image in international diaspora is great. The consumer confidence is great. Obviously, we are able to also ring fence ourselves to a much extent from a global recession. So this rally should continue. I think over the next, till the time, say I can say, election comes and does something new to India, I don't know. The rally should continue till election is what I see. And post-election, obviously, after 6-8 months of cooling of election period, again, real estate basis and fundamentally will keep growing. I think this amount of rally, when I compare it with 2011 or 2014, their RERA was not there. The taxes, the GST kind of reforms were not there, and the customers were not much informed compared to that era. This is a well-informed, well-regulated industry now. Consumers are more informed, and I think everything is available on social media for a consumer or somebody to search and understand what is wrong, what is right. So this is a healthy phenomenon, and I think this healthy phenomenon should continue. I would not say it should stop, but let's hope it continues because all stabilize.
Thanks. thanks for that, and certainly wish the best from the industry perspective on it. But when you look at it, I think there are real estate is intrinsically linked with the fact that how the economy is doing, what's the sentiment like there, and also with a lot of infrastructure projects which are on. So if you look at NCR, I think the fact that we've got very very strong connectivity, there are huge projects which are being underway in terms of the road connectivity, and now with the metro expansion, and the fact that the new airport's going to come in the Noida side as well. I think there are very very strong positive infrastructure push that we are having on it, which is creating several new micro markets as well in a near future as well as that. And the existing ones are getting supported with the additional infra, like Sona area recently with the extension that's happened on the elevated expressway, Delhi Mumbai connectivity also, and then there are further infrastructure projects around the Dwarka expressway. All of us have been waiting for that to open. So I think there are good sentiments from an infra push that's happening on that. Buying, of course, is happening with the economic activity moving up there, with people having more disposable income, and post-COVID that initially the frenzy that started to kind of get to a bigger home and also to a better home, upgrade the lifestyle, that's continuing. It's not stopped, it's not abated. That aspiration is certainly there, and everybody wants to kind of get to a next milestone over there. So that's kind of a thing which is certainly supporting all of us there. Economy is in a good, strong condition. The prospects of the fact that all the sentimental value perspectives as well, which are getting done from the government side and from all the other agencies also, which are there, whether it's international or a Indian agency around it, has been kind of giving up some promising stats from a future perspective in that. So when the jobs are getting secured, then of course the buying is happening in that direction only, and that's where we see the loan activity also happening in that sense there. Interest rates also are hovering around 8.5 or 9. They're not above 10 and they're not below 7. So I think there also it kind of says that it's not a low interest regime, but it's a reasonable stable interest regime as well. So till that time there are not very probably because real estate of course is cyclical, but at the same time it gets impacted a lot with the external forces there in that. So if there are not very significant challenges on the economic side of it, and the fact that the launches which are happening, right, do not go towards the top end only, like Uber luxury only getting launched around it, because that's the trend which you've seen in the past. That the moment the step up happens on the real estate buying activity, the development and the launches start to move up, which has happened now as well. That there is a luxury and super luxury and over luxury apartments and similar kind of developments are happening, which is positive. At the same time, the mix of that, if it gets skewed too much, then of course you will find that there is a balance will get go off. Where you will not find products to kind of buy at a reasonable levels on that, which is again kind of gets people into a fix. So we'll start finding that the developers will again move to kind of launching some reasonable and right sized products as well to kind of suit the requirement. Right now it's all about positive, it's all about success which is happening. So we see a particular pattern which is getting followed, and I think I agree to what Dharmesh said on the last cycle versus this cycle. I think this cycle certainly there is a lot more strength, a lot more awareness with the buyers as well. RERA supports has consolidated several of the developments also, and brought much more uniformity in terms of approvals, compliances, to other parts of it as well. As everything happens, some of that is still work in progress. Larger developers, leading developers, of course, have got a lot of things standardized as well. And the frenzy is not to kind of just build. It's there to say that you are building it for the right purpose as well. So we don't see right now there is certainly a push to launch that started to happen. It's happening as well. But certainly still it's not in the frenzy mode still there. So there is some time left, and and certainly we have a major event coming in next year, which does have a certain impact, on the real estate buying initially and then later as well, a bit there. But at a broader level, if you look at it from an economy and from the general per capita income rising, the affordability is pretty high at this point in time compared to 2011 and 15. So seems to be in a good spot and seems to be staying at that level as well. And that's the hope which Dharmesh also said.
It's always difficult to, with the last answer a particular question, but let me be honest, I've been in this business for 30 years only in NCR area, and I can assure you
there is no better sweet spot in the entire country than NCR. Now, having said that, I have no reason to believe that the price will ever go down. They will always be in the right trajectory because the multiple factors. Well, let's understand why NCR has a sweet spot and what are the parameters which will define it. Like many of the gateway cities across the world, Dubai, London, and New York, Delhi NCR is a gateway area where anybody and everybody from across the northern part of India comes here. Any bureaucrat, any IS officer, anybody with a businessman wants to have a home in Delhi, depending on the personal capacity of how they want to spend the money here. In the entire NCR area, we have land which varies from 3 to 4 crores an acre to 100 crores an acre, depends on which part of the area you're living in. So we are actually covering the Louis Vuittons as well as the Bata Chappal, the entire gamut of the, I would say, sphere of the pricing. And as Neeraj rightly said, I think one of the most important things which has happened in NCR area is absolutely a very high quality infra push in last 5 years. I'll name a couple of them. UA2 is opening up. Yashobhumi, if you go today from airport side or the Shimurti side, once that, so-called Clover Lane gets opened up, you will be touching Dwarka Expressway. From there, you will be going to NH. And that is the so-called area of Gurgaon, which was supposed to be the backside, will actually take the frontal position right now. Number two, the biggest airport of Asia is coming up in, UP, which is close to Noida. I forget the name of Zevar. Now, why is it the biggest airport happening? Because there is a consumption, there is a capacity. Right or wrong, this area has a consumption, has a capacity. Industrial push in Delhi NCR area is the highest which is happening in. Maruti has got a new plant coming in Kharkona. Across Haryana, they opened up the entire land for any kind of industrial activity. UP is already a very, very industrialized area. So, industry coming in, being backed up by real estate is a classic mantra. For a real estate to always boom, there is no way under the sun it will ever go down. Now, the question remains that, on the pricing part of it, on the macroeconomic factors, I think macroeconomic factors in the rather place called NCR area have become par for the course actually. Elections are happening here everywhere, whether it's Haryana, whether UP, whether it's Delhi, or whether it's the central elections. I think we have got used to the fact that this is another event which will happen, and those events which are short-term in nature will not be impacting the larger macroeconomic factors of this place called NCR. So, primarily, it's a very gung-ho position, and it's a very sweet spot. Unlike any other part of the country, I think none of the factors which I just talked to you about are applicable in those parts. So, though they are very much established centers in their own right, but there is a kind of a headwind coming from multiple directions to support the real estate, I would say, activity being a very consistently upside. Again, as I said, depending on which part of the spectrum you want to be, the lower or the upper end. I don't see any challenges happening at all in next at least 5 to 10 years time. Thank you.
Of late, what we have been witnessing, especially in terms of the land prices and some of the deals that have actually taken place in last 3 to 6 months, where almost earlier, at least I can say that in the suburb, 100 crore an acre was something which was completely unheard of. Now, in certain HSBC auction, the way experiment made quite aggressive, where they took 4 acres for 400 crores in Sector 53, Gurgaon. Again, another 5.5 acres for 550 crores. And in one of the deal, even Hero Homes is, there is a lot of news around it, and where they have taken, actually they're in the process of that, and what, as per our information, it is something at around 730 crores for 14 acres. Obviously, the FAR is double there due to the TOD and all. But even that FA side that comes, it is something around 3,500 rupees per square feet. So, considering 3,500 rupees per square feet, typically it would be very difficult to get any visibility for probably for a pricing of less than 12,000 rupees per square feet. So, my first question to you: has the new norm is already there in the market, where earlier typically every developer used to, if it is not on the golf course road, then at least 10,000 was even a big barrier. But now even in the suburbs and in the peripheral areas, now 10,000, 12,000, 13,000 has become the new normal. And will it be the course of Gurgaon is not only in Gurgaon. Even if I can say in Noida, the same thing has happened. Noida was on never a market, particularly after the core area, the peripheral area in sector 150 and all those near Greater Noida and all the way the projects are being launched for more than 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. So, are we already in the five-figure mark in terms of square footage and all that?
First and foremost, to Bansal to me, that from your platform, let me say, the deal says that somebody good brand is selling, it's out in the news, so Moderator is selling nearby. None of us informed to that.
Hello.
And that says the number like crazy, 50 crore per acre. So let me say from this platform, there's nothing as of sort happening, or nothing has been on paper signed or on paper executed so far. So I hope we clarify to media also, we put some media on the spot also, and we'll be clarifying again so that nothing as of sort has happened from our side. And even the Godrej had the same time. As coming to your second question, is 10,000 plus the new norm in Gurgaon? That I would more or less agree with you. What has happened in the last couple of launches which we had? So last launch we had in the Dwarka Expressway. Our phase 1 was underwritten, or we sold at a rate of 7,000-8,000. This last tower we launched, and we were able to get 17,000 as an average price. So on a Dwarka Expressway, everybody will be pleased, and some of the bosses will go and ask the CSO that why Hero has been able to sell at 17,000. But yeah, we have been able to get that numbers. So imagine a Dwarka Expressway, New Gurgaon or parallels kind of a location. 10 to 12,000 has become a new norm. पहले बोला जाता था 7-8 का market है, but Gurgaon per se is more than 10,000 plus market. So all deals, what I have seen of late and what we've been also underwriting, we are not underwriting anything less than 15,000-16,000, being a branded player. But that doesn't mean that we buy a high FSI or a high cost FSI. But yeah, obviously the rate has been improved. I think 10-12,000 is the new norm for Gurgaon, and hopefully it will go up.
Question comes on the affordability. Regarding the affordability, so the biggest issue would be definitely when the per square footage rate is that much. Typically, there is a density constraint and all. The sectoral density, and even in Noida also. Typically in North India, it happens that when we consider a 3 BHK or a premium specification, typically these are of more than 2,000 square feet. And due to the density constraint, obviously you cannot afford to have a unit of less than a certain size and all that. In that case, even in most conservative situation, the typical ticket size will not be less than 20 million per unit or something like that. So, where the entire story of the affordability and what will happen to those players who are primarily in the affordable markets? Is there time how they are going to achieve that? Because already, if you think the way the city is growing and typically the business hubs and those are very much concentrated to an extent, and even in the suburbs, very much in the centralized location or the established location. And from that perspective, the connectivity issue, the time taken to travel and all that. So, is it time to revise the density norm, or some policy intervention is required? And at the same, because obviously price is something which is a determinant of the market factors, and there the policy cannot do too much things. But at least in the terms of the density, the FSI norm and all that, certain intervention is required. If that, then in that case, will it not further put an additional burden on the already starved infrastructure and
all? See, I'll tell you honestly, Gurgaon has a capacity to become a global city. It can replicate itself. The Dwarka Expressway can become a next Jain road and can have better infrastructure. It has a better infrastructure. It's already the plans are there for the better infrastructure. Now the way amount of money we spend on the infrastructure in Gurgaon, in Mumbai, in all the tier A cities is all-time high, as we mentioned. Now it's time exactly 600 per person per acre is current density, I think in intense zone. So now it's a time to revise this density to minimum 4 FAR. Is what I feel 3.5 is what the current number is. And when it goes to a transit zone, it becomes in the range of 2.5. The distance of 500 meter can move to 1 kilometer or something like that. So it is a need of an hour to increase density, because then the more number of people can come. The green zone, because also it is coupled with the density is coupled with the vertical you go. Today, 35, 36, 40 story towers are getting built up. And that's been accepted in this Delhi NCR market. Bombay already has that. In spite of its troubled infrastructure, Bombay is vertical. It's a time for Gurgaon, Haryana to revise their density norms. I think 4 FAR in intense zone is a must.
The last question to you, especially since you have a project on Dwarka Expressway, and obviously Dwarka Expressway is on the verge of completion and all that. The things are actually moving quite at a good pace. But there was a flip side to it where certain news came up regarding the soil condition, especially, and where certain structural issues were there. Godrej has also, with their, one of the projects, they completely come up with some sort of redo plan or something like that. And then there were other couple of instances or news. So apart from, obviously I can understand that most of the projects were, of those projects were launched in a time when there was no radar, nothing and all that, and there was hardly any as such strict regulation. I cannot say that there was no regulation. There were regulations, but they have become stricter and all. But considering the, we should also, to an extent, factor the environmental condition or the soil condition. So from that perspective, any intervention you, the developers are actually thinking about regarding the soil condition especially, and how to mitigate those?
This is not a new condition. This soil situation in Dwarka Expressway has been known for so long. This is something which is not a surprise. So when we started our project, we did thorough geotechnical report which is required. Soil investigation reports were there, backed by third party. I'm not a structural engineer, but backed by third party reports and third party validation. We designed it in such a way that we don't need to use the water which comes out, and we build separate plan for purifying the water and to use it in a construction. So we took all that step, which doesn't create the issues in terms of corrosion and XYZ issues when the soil issues are there. If you look at Dubai, worst conditions of soil, but still the construction happens. So it was nothing which is, we've been exploring a couple of more land parcels in the Dwarka Expressway. And we always, as a first part of due diligence, we always look at soil investigation report, we look at geotechnical report, and post that, we say that, yeah, either we want to go ahead with this land parcel or not. So that is a known devil. It is how effectively you plan against that devil is important. And as a branded player, we take utmost care that all our strategies, all our planning is approved by third party, and we get it ready. So I think that's the thing which you can manage.
Probably it is going to be my last question to regarding the residential. The last few questions. Sir, Gaurav, sir, just I want to understand that, especially we all know that post-COVID the project cost and all that have increased tremendously, and the land to an extent also, as we discussed earlier, that the land cost has also increased to a great extent, and now where almost per acreage is something 50 crores, less than 50 crores, it is very difficult to find out in the current context if it is not, if it is for a high-rise development or something like that. So in that context, how it is going to impact the affordability, and what could be the possible way out to bridge the gap between the viability of the developers and the affordability of the masses?
Thank you. I think pricing is a very sensitive subject, but let's be honest about it. At the end of the day, from purely builder's perspective, I think I've said it in a couple of forums, we are actually only an aggregator. The chunk of the money is taken by the land bank, then comes the approvals, then comes the construction part of it. All these three things are as per the market forces. What are we doing thereafter? We are managing the process, we are putting everything together and taking a certain markup. I think the only data available to you is from the listed companies and the branded players. So if you ask them how much money they are making, I think it's a very simple, it's a sub two-digit number, it's a 7 to 8%, I think that they make at the end of the day, which thanks to the way the share market is playing, had it been given a 40x multiplier, share price are good, if it comes to 10 or 20x multiplier, they'll all go down. So the question is, how is it going to be affecting? So the only solution to the entire discussion is, government has put a cap to, let us say, affordable housing in our area, Haryana especially. Now, have they put a cap on the way we buy land? No. What is the biggest one? We're only talking about escalation land prices. But let me be honest, a brick has gone from 4 rupees to 8 rupees in the last 4 to 5 years. And then there is no good bricks available. He's talking about soil part of it. Government of Haryana tells you to make usable water, which is used in this septic tanks, recycle and bring it to the construction zone. How much it is possible? We all know it's a big facade. There's a big mafia over there and they don't follow the rules at all. That's the reason every time water is being used, some get caught, some don't get caught. But the silver lining in the entire black cloud is that the infrastructure push, as I said, the elephant in the room is now the Delhi master plan, which is opening up nearly 40,000 hectares of land under the new land pooling policy in the green zone, which is right next to, for example, Dwarka Expressway crossing the Jammu train. The rate suddenly dropped down to 5 crores a acre. From 50 crores an acre to 5 crores. Now that's only stuck because of policy push. See, we have made money in this country because of only two factors, A, infra and B, policy. Everything else is a grind, everything else is a, working, you get money because you are working on certain things. So this particular land which is opening up now will be the new bastion of all major developers. Gurgaon, right or wrong, today the prices have gone up so high because there is a very little supply available for a good location in Gurgaon. There is land available. You go take a flight from Indira Gandhi Airport and just see below you, you'll see everything empty. There's nothing there. But because the policy of the government being such, you need 5 acres from here, affordable has gone out of the window because land prices have gone up so much. So they have to go to the next area. Infra is giving them a good push. The UA2 will open up fantastic areas. In fact, take a drive over there and you'll see some of the best areas are opening up. And not very expensive. I think that's the only way out. Either government puts a cap on the way we buy land, or you got to go further. I think there is no third answer. Because good, bad, ugly, we are driven by the market forces, and at the end of the day, we are only aggregators who are controlling markup on the investment bid. And that also, people look at 15 to 16% IRR at least, if not more. I represent a company which is based in Bahrain, and I think international money is coming here. But some of they also get sucked up into the, with the dollar variation being such. The net returns are also not more than 5 to 6%. So even if they say 60% higher. I think this is a little bit vicious cycle, but we have to keep playing ball, make up new areas, develop more areas, and somehow assume that there will be some God-sent input, which I don't think is going to be. Thank you.
Now, moving from the residential segment to the office segment, basically, and since when we are saying that there is not a huge for the residential, then definitely at the back of and it means that the economy is doing well, and then there is a demand for the office space and all. So office leasing activity to an extent I can with certain data which are there, which say that it has already reached the pre-COVID level. So all those stuff of work from home and all that stuff, to an extent, those lines are getting baked, and now there are a hybrid system, or even many offices pushing the employees to come back to the office and all. So, from that perspective, if I can say that Delhi NCR is the costliest office rental market in India, and it is the sixth most expensive market across Asia Pacific prime office markets. What makes this region an attractive option for investors and the developers? Neeraj.
Sure. So from an office perspective, certainly in terms of what you said, I mean, the India or the Delhi office market has been pretty high, in kind of increasing in terms of per square foot also on it. Hong Kong being, of course, the most expensive in that region, and Seoul, the fifth largest, and now Delhi is coming as the sixth one there. We were discussing just a while back in the first instance as well, like Delhi offers certain, or Delhi NCR, Gurgaon, Noida, offers a lot of huge connectivity, there. Gurgaon specifically came up on the back of the airport, the way the airport provides support, for all MNCs and all the domestic travel to happen as well. And a satellite city which was, contrary to what we were discussing at that one point in time, it was very affordable. And of course, things were different than what the CP district, let's say, was offering, from a commercial perspective. And a lot of grade A office supply did come up, over there in that. And consequent to that, Noida as well, which was slightly more industrialized in certain sense, more hardware, electronic and the perspective, which is still continuing also on that. But there is a lot more now services side, which has come up in that side as well. So once the Noida airport opens, right, and Gurgaon, the Delhi airport still is also the expansion side of it there, Terminal 4 would also come up on it. I think this offers a huge connectivity. With RRTS coming in again, you got, because Delhi NCR is entirely services dominated. Almost 80% of the businesses are service dominated over there, and you would find that huge number of technology players, huge number of GCCs. BPO was always there for quite some time in several years now, almost 20 plus years. But now the recent change which happened is the number of GCCs increasing. In the Delhi region on that. GCCs are the global in-house centers or global captive centers as they're called. Now the shared service centers are very, very big, users of office space, and also they require huge talent to be available as well. And Delhi offers that, or Delhi NCR offers that, talent as a big magnet for that. And for many of the corporations, Noida, Gurgaon, Delhi have become operational centers, where they are kind of using it like a hub as well, to control some of the regions of Chandigarh, Jaipur, and some of the nearby areas as well as that. So we'll see a continuous influx of more and more GCCs coming in, increasing demand for requirements of people in that way. Of course, there is a hybrid office usage that's happening at this point in time, and certainly in 2020 and 2021, there were a lot of doubts about office requirements and everything on that. Hybrid is a reality. It's happened. It's kind of adjusted also to a lot of companies' requirements also now in that. Some few percentages here and there are which are still kind of getting adjusted to say what is the final mix out of it. But there is certainly majority companies have got a hybrid policy in place. People are required to get to the office for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, at least in a week around it. And also there has been a huge increase in number of job opportunities in these organizations as well. So currently the office usage is kind of reaching to a peak level in that way. And it's also a function of what kind of good supply that we're getting. So grade A office suppliers, given that the Delhi NCR market has seen some very, very large players, both locally, regionally, always being present, and then also the influx of the developers coming from south as well as from the west side of it as well, and setting up both for residential and also the office supply perspective. So we've seen all around very, very nice, good development that's happened on the grade A office supply. So the companies are moving to larger office requirements. Two more trends, if I say very specifically, are the fact that the flex space, the co-working space aspect of it, that's been a trend all across the country. But Delhi also has, Delhi NCR has seen it in a very significant way, wherein companies have been able to downsize, look at an office space option, or look at together as a combined option as well. Increase more opportunities for the staff to come and, let's say, do like again a hub and spoke arrangement between the Delhi NCR market. Instead of one office, have 3 offices, 5 offices, 7 offices as well. Offer more flexibility to people. So which is again works in a hybrid environment much more, because the Delhi NCR market's problem is the traffic, congestion and difficulty on that. Some of it is of course getting solved by the infrastructure push, but as it gets solved, more difficulties will come up as well, which is where this flex option really supports that. So from an office supply and office demand perspective, this is where this demand has kind of led to the increase in the per square foot pricing, and somewhere it looks to be stabilizing and also keeping in tandem with that requirement also.
So traditionally, when we talk about the real estate, generally we consider the residential, commercial, retail, and hospitality as the major segment. But of late, due to the regulations, more the formal players are also come in, and with all these e-commerce platform and e-commerce stuff and the story which is around that, lot of demand for the warehousing is also there. And apart from that, warehousing things to an extent now it is considered as a very good rate opportunity and all investment opportunity. Apart from that, the data center stuff is now very new, probably for the last 2-3 years. In fact, data center is also making a lot of tractions. So the Delhi NCR market, which was the warehousing market as such, which was increasing year on year, and from the last, at least from the last 4-5 years, at least I can say. Now, in the last half yearly, it is seen certain level of drop, significant drop of something around 40%. And one of the major reasons that could be attributed to that is the opening of various other data center, warehousing centers in the nearby centers of UP and Haryana, and they are in fact giving a close competition to the warehousing which are already there existing in the Delhi NCR market. So from that perspective, what are your predictions, Neeraj?
Sure. So from a warehousing perspective, rightly that you mentioned on it, that there was a very substantial demand which had come up because of on the back of the requirements getting generated over the marketplaces effectively online, and one has seen that there is certain amount of tempering that's happened as well, because during the COVID times it was all dependent on the marketplaces only from a buying perspective. There was much more buying that was happening also. Somewhere we were using very nice terms also of revenge buying and revenge whatever perspective as well, travel happening. So then from a warehousing perspective also, there are new requirements that come up. A lot of that has got fulfilled as well. Very huge fulfillment centers have been set up now from Amazon perspective, Flipkart perspective as well. And the fact that Haryana and Noida, I mean the greater parts of Noida, also offer a lot more lucrative options. So when you look at Delhi, I mean the market, the cost of land, which we were discussing earlier from the residential side also, is always expensive and will be more and more expensive also, because the supply is what it is, there side. And connectivity plays a very strong role, from a warehousing perspective, to say where you want to situate your mother warehouse effectively. A, requirements of a huge land, B, in terms of connectivity, and C, in terms of affordability. Then also the fact that it has to meet with certain requirements of that MNC or the local player as well. Of the fact that, so like we were discussing Greater Noida or the Sector 150, which you mentioned on it. The fact that so many expressways get merged, in that area, along with the Zevar Airport coming in, that is the area of land parcel which becomes more attractive, for any of the warehousing players, both the third-party logistics and also for like a national player like an Amazon or Flipkart as well on that.
Neeraj, I think larger things being said, my request is you work a lot with the government. So on the warehousing front, across Haryana, Noida and Delhi, you should somehow push them for allowing the in-city small warehousing, because there is no formal area which are designated for such purposes. They are in the landowner land, illegal colonies, so they just make up sheds and make a mess of whatever is there. But this is need of the hour. Obviously, everybody can't travel from Patoli to Delhi. They have in-city warehousing which is allowed, and there have been talks about it, especially in the Delhi master plan. That they will do in the GD area. But definitely, you are working quite well with the government. So if there is a policy request from your side, KPMG holds a lot of value. I'm sure this is a need, and it will take away a lot of traffic from the road. It will take away a lot of effort people are putting in. So this is small request.
Happy to get to work and get more inputs on that as well. There, certainly.
Okay. The last question to you, so especially in terms of the capital inflows, which was something in excess of more than $2 billion USD 2023. Most of them actually came from Mumbai, Delhi, NCR, and so as real estate continues to remain a good investment grade, how has the investment landscape evolved over the years, and what are some of the emerging and alternative investment trends today?
Sure. So I think two, three trends, if I may say, let's say on that, so one, you know, major investments that are happening through private equity inflows or the direct FDI inflows as well. I think there is one emergence, a lot more money getting channelized through alternate investment funds there is that, which we've seen increasingly in the last 5 years. Every year it's been in certain years almost 100% plus growth has also happened on the AIF's part of it there. The second is in terms of the fact that the real estate investment, whether to buy a home or to kind of the desire to have risk investment, right, is kind of gone down to that age of 25 to 35 bracket, which was unheard of, or let's say not experienced that much on it. But the fact that there is so much of digital platforms available today, right, which are making it very painless, easy, superb access of information also, and the fact that these new GH platforms which have come up, the prop tech, if you can call them, on it, they have made it one very extremely easy. The second made the process very transparent as well, on it. And third, some of them are being held by very, very experienced professionals, who are part of either a large fund or have been part of large developer, fundraising and other perspective on it, which is kind of giving a lot more confidence and comfort for the individuals to kind of hold, their investments with them. And the fact that they've been kind of been able to raise that much of money around it, so it's kind of leading to the hybrid financing coming in there. And I think third trend, if I may say, that the digital asset side of it, tokenization, right? That is also one sees coming up in a good way now with that, saying so from the involvement of more and more crypto getting into, the real estate side of it as well, is something that, we'll see as a trend coming in more in the future years as well, because that's something which is, while of course all of us have seen what happened to Bitcoin around it, and of course now it's kind of come up also around it. So these are what they are as an assets around it. But the fact that apart from traditional investors, we have this larger pool of new investors also, right, who are wanting to take certain chances, who are ready to kind of adopt a new platform, is a very interesting and a very good trend as well, which is coming up now.
Last question to you, Sir Gaurav. So the last question to you, especially regarding the Noida market, because we talked relatively less on that. So there has been certain policy change also in Noida, where earlier the builder used to give a tranche-wise payment or something like that to the authority. Now all the upfront payment need to come right from day zero, with the land payment and apart from the project cost and all. So and what we can see that earlier it used to be relatively affordable option to put in, but now all of a sudden we are seeing that the residential prices in Noida are to an extent almost parallel to Gurgaon. So where in the pretext of the new design where the land payment need to be done right on day zero, how the developers are going to cope with that? Will they survive already? Many of the developers in Noida and other environments, they are also to an extent struggling to a much extent. So where things are moving in Noida?
This is a controversial discussion which will happen, so don't quote me on this. But one of the biggest reasons why RERA came is because of the erstwhile policies of UP, that the developer could pay only 10% and take a project and could never deliver it actually. So they all bought more than they could chew. B, if you see the counterpart Haryana, not a single developer has gone bust because they had invested serious money in the land and their approvals were support. So this was a key difference. Somebody who's invested literally 50% of the project value on day one versus somebody who invested only 10% on day one. And because there's no skin in the game. So I think it's a very welcome sign that you see anybody who's doing business today across the country. Look at any manufacturing. They do a full financial closure before they start the factory. They have the product ready before they ship it out, and when this in the showroom, the guy buys it. It's a ready product. I think we are still selling off plan, So I think it's a good maturity of the market. I think Noida will benefit a lot if the policy will see serious vendors coming in. That's what is happening. initially, anybody who was in Noida you had never heard of him actually. But today you have good branded players coming in there. Today you are having why the prices have gone up is because people have a faith in the big coming in there. And obviously infrastructure has taken its own shape here, which is a major factor. But I am very much for the support that there should be no free lunch. Government should be able to get their money off, and look at anybody who's stuck up. All the NCLT cases are in Noida projects. You know names of more than we know the names actually. And they're big boys actually, they're not small boys. And how will they come out as best? How will the banks take the money? How will anybody for that? Supreme Court is not able to handle it. NBCC has said that, we're only project managers, give us the money, we'll deliver the project. So there is a challenge, but with this new change, I think it should be a welcome change. Whatever happens, if you're able to buy 1 kg versus 100 kg, put the money, buy it, that's it. So this is my take on this. Thank you.
From the audience, any question?
A question is to all the panelists. So what could be possibly some leading indicators where we could see this party slowing down in terms of your previous experiences? So what could be the leading indicators one can watch?
Why you want party to slow down?
As an investor, I have to be cautious of what can go wrong. I would rather focus on what is
As
going
price goes up, there are multiple indicators for it. Similarly, it goes down, it also has multiple indicators. One big factor which might impact current rally is the global recession or the global turmoil or the wars which is happening around. That might impact to a certain extent if it continues. The crude oil prices, the global economy might impact us over I think 8, 9, 10 months from now on. That's the only indicator which I see might impact real estate. Otherwise, it's a healthy growth, healthy sign, and the rally should continue. And as I said, election is also one of the factors, but it is not going to dip down the prices. It's going to stabilize, cool off it for some period, and again, basis of fundamental, real estate will continue its rally. I think real estate next 5-6 years will be in the range of inflation percentage. It will grow as per the inflation more than, or maybe 1 or 2 basis points more than inflation.
I'd like to add a couple of points here that purely as an investor, and I've been an investor, for quite a while, you should be able to, change your asset classes. Beyond a point, an apartment becomes a law of diminishing returns, But 20,000 will not become 40,000 in next 5 years, even if it's in the best of the location. However, a raw piece of land has become 3 times after COVID actually. Secondly, any of these bids for any of these global events, I should have been smart enough, because I was down with COVID at that time, to put some money into some of these stocks when COVID was happening. But then we were worrying about a survival at that time. So I think when this global phenomenon happens, like whatever war, everything is happening, look out for good deals actually at that time. But India will not offer you those good deals because we are, to be honest, we are quite insulated, we are quite okay. But definitely, look at maybe some tier B cities right now where infra is happening, where roads are happening. Today, Delhi, Dehradun, if some of you watch YouTube, if you see the YouTube, some of the videos, Delhi, Dehradun expressway is being shown, it's a mind-blowing construction which is going on. And again, if you see the land prices, they've gone up at least 3 times in the last 3 years actually. So somehow you need to now come out of the comfort zone of buying only a ready building versus a plot versus an acre. I think that's the only phenomenon. Convert your square yards into acres and square foot into square yards. Over here, do that. I'm sure money will be in the market.
Thanks to all the speakers, and it was quite an insightful session. And so we will move to the next session. Thanks.
Thank you. Gentlemen, please request Gaurav Kejriwal, Managing Director of Kedia, to join us on stage and present a token of appreciation to all the panelists and a moderator, please. Thank you so much. Thank you.